The energy vortex did not resolve in the clean, silent snap of a standard mass relay activation, nor did it possess the familiar, cold geometry of a K-gate deployment. It was an uncontrolled, self-cannibalizing rupture of space-time, a violent, roiling tear of violet and gold that spat out a cascade of debris near the shattered moon of Peleven. The Turian homeworld was already a charnel house of burning cities and orbital wreckage, its skies choked with the particulate ash of 100 capital ship detonations. This new, chaotic arrival was merely a ripple in a galaxy-wide tidal wave of death. Inside the rapidly stabilizing armored exploration module, a Frankenstein composite of advanced Stark Industries stealth technology and the newest iteration of Wayne Tech's dimensional mapping array, two of the multiverse's most formidable minds were being physically rearranged by the unexpected transdimensional jump. Report, Phoenix. Damage assessment and contextual parameters. We should be halfway to the dark multiverse, not stuck in what looks like a particularly aggressive light show. A voice, synthesized and amplified, crackled through the comms. It was Tony Stark, encased in the deep red and gold plating of a specialized, heavy-duty, nanite-capable Iron Man suit. He wrestled with the controls, the arc reactor at his chest flickering dangerously as external energy fields buffeted the armor. Damage at 83%, sir. The non-ESO FTL drive is completely slagged. We are currently surrounded by, and I use the term loosely, a galactic civilization at war. The dominant threat vector, designated Reaper, appears to be highly advanced synthetic organic capital ships currently engaged in a planetary siege. Our energy signature is anomalous, attracting immediate focus from both the hostables and the aggressors. Attempting system-wide patch to the local communications protocol. Failure. Complete technological incompatibility. Their primary FTL standard uses element zero physics. Their weapons are mass accelerators, and their defensive systems utilize kinetic barriers. Repulsor output is dampened by an external, omnipresent energy field. I estimate a 72% reduction in effective force projection, Mr. Stark. The AI, a hybrid construct of Alfred Pennyworth's calm logistical competence and Jarvis's analytical speed, answered in a synthesized, slightly strained voice. Kinetic barriers? That's just a fancy shield, Phoenix. Throw some energy at it. Stark fired a low-powered repulsor blast toward a damaged Turian-designed frigate nearby. Instead of the expected explosive penetration, the energy beam deflected off a shimmering blue field, the kinetic barrier, and dissipated into harmless plasma. Son of a... that's not a standard shield. It's a dedicated relativistic mass defense system. They stop bullets, not energy. From the co-pilot seat, a figure in a darker, more subdued armor, a specialized, advanced batsuit designed for maximum stealth and low signature operation, acted without a word. Bruce Wayne, unlike Stark, had not relied on the exotic energy systems that Element Zero seemed to hate. His suit was a pure platform for tactical thinking and material science. Tony, stop generating heat. The Reapers are moving on the signature. Bruce's voice, a gravelly, controlled monotone, was devoid of panic. He quickly detached the Javelin stealth shuttle from the main Iron Man chassis. My systems are still functional. Phoenix, switch all primary data collection to the Javelin. We need to know who the enemy is, and more importantly, who their enemy is. Initial objective, isolation and intelligence. We can't fight an extinction-level war blind. Get us to the nearest non-combat observation point. Bruce's genius lay in preparation, Stark's in adaptation. In this moment, Stark's power was diminished, but Bruce's strategic and logistical power was intact. He deployed a specialized micro-level atmospheric sensor array designed to be undetectable by high-grade alien surveillance. The Reaper forces, in the shape of massive, kilometer-long ships that looked like ancient, monstrous cuttlefish, were now converging. One of them let out a blare, a deep foghorn sound that was less an audible noise and more a wave of cosmic dread. Before the Reapers could close the distance, a group of smaller, heavily armed ships bearing the recognizable Alliance sigil, a star with a ring, vectored toward the wreckage, their blue kinetic barriers pulsing under concentrated Turian fire. They were human. Alliance command to unknown contact. Power down and prepare to be boarded. You are in a restricted war zone. Failure to comply will result in immediate engagement. A human female voice, sharp with military precision, came over the salvage distress frequency. "Phoenix, translate and synthesize a standard distress signal. Make us look like a lost deep space probe," Stark ordered, even as his armor systems groaned under the strain of the shifting energy fields. "Bruce, get to ground level. Your gear will be more effective in an urban environment, and my presence is too large a target. I'll handle the diplomatic incident." Bruce didn't argue. His stealth shuttle, the Javelin, deployed microscopic decoy flares and dropped out of the battle entirely, using a custom-built acoustic dampening thruster system that was entirely non-ESO. He was gone, fading into the smoke and planetary chaos of Palaven's siege, beginning his own mission, establishing the Batcave Protocol on the ground, an autonomous, off-the-grid logistics and intelligence operation. Stark allowed the Alliance fighters, designated N7 Valkyries, to approach. Their armor systems were simple, robust, and relied on kinetic defenses. He powered down his suit to a minimal life support mode, making himself appear vulnerable, while Phoenix secretly ran diagnostic and decryption matrices on the Alliance's primary communication signal. When the boarding party secured him, they were met by a man in an unpowered suit, his helmet retracted, revealing a face of stubble and grim determination. He was human, but his technology was unlike anything they had ever encountered. The air shimmered with the distinctive blue glow of biotic attacks as the battle raged, and the Turian hierarchy immediately demanded the prisoner's transfer, convinced the technology was Geth, Prothean, or even a new devastating Reaper trick. Stark's immediate encounter was not with a grateful alliance, but with a highly suspicious, politically fraught military that saw him as a weapon, a liability, or a prize. He was not a savior. He was a strategic asset to be secured or an existential threat to be contained. This new galaxy was about to learn that two humans had arrived who did not rely on Element Zero, were not bound by cycles, and were certainly not going to be contained. If you want to see more characters enter different universes, hit that subscribe button and drop the name of a character and the universe you'd want them to see them in. The galaxy is worth fighting for. The journey from Palaven's scarred orbit to the temporary forward operating base was not a transfer, but a kidnapping sanctioned by Alliance military intelligence. The Alliance frigate, SSV Marathon, bore Stark and the inert Iron Man suit away from the Turian Alliance joint forces, much to the furious protest of the hierarchy commander who had overseen the initial capture. The human military, despite being the newest member of the galactic community, possessed a ruthless pragmatism born of the First Contact War and now amplified by the Reaper threat. They would not yield a technological edge, real or perceived, to anyone, not even their allies. Stark's immediate interrogator was not an Alliance official, but a voice from the distant, shattered Earth, Admiral Stephen Hackett, who spoke to him via a heavily encrypted comm line from the remnants of the Systems Alliance command structure. "Your suit is an anomaly, Mr. Stark. It uses no Element Zero, yet it performed tactical FTL equivalent movement and possesses energy generation we haven't seen outside of the Reapers themselves." Hackett's voice was tired but commanding. "My people are classifying you as a strategic unknown, possibly a Cerberus Black project or an entirely new, unindoctrinated Geth platform. You claim to be from a different universe, a concept that is, frankly, irrelevant in a galaxy where extinction is at the front door. I need to know your true purpose, and I need to know it now." Stark, now confined to a secure medical bay and monitored by a small squad of nervous N7 Marines, gave his most irritatingly honest answer. "The truth is rarely simple, Admiral. My purpose was to map dimensions. My current purpose is survival and finding a way home. But right now, your people are being hunted by giant squid-like sentient capital ships. I'm a guy who likes to fix things, and right now, your galaxy is very broken." He kept his tone light, masking the grim reality that his suit's power limitations and the vast technological gulf meant he needed their technology more than they initially needed his. Hackett was not amused. "The Turians want your technology. The Council will want you classified, studied, or exiled. Cerberus is actively hunting any new asset they can weaponize. You are a threat to galactic stability by merely existing. So what is your price for cooperation, Stark? Because I can't give you a free ride out of a war you just stumbled into. Stark, ever the opportunist and realist, saw the opening. I need a safe, resource-rich, politically neutral base of operations, access to your manufacturing schematics, specifically your kinetic barrier and mass accelerator weapon designs, and unrestricted access to all your raw intelligence data on the Reapers, the Protheans, and most importantly, the element zero physics that are messing with my arc reactor. You get an unprecedented non-ESO weapons designer and an engineer who specializes in impossible problems. Think of me as the Alliance's newest Black Ops R&D division. My partner is already in play. You deal with me, Admiral, or you deal with a very paranoid, very well-funded ghost who will treat your galaxy like a hostile military environment. Hackett hesitated. The reference to the partner was intriguing. The initial radar data did show a small secondary craft that vanished without a trace, utilizing stealth systems that even the Alliance's best frigate could not detect. Meanwhile, on a desolate, temperate, and abandoned colony world in the Krogan DMZ, an area too chaotic for Council patrols, but too strategically insignificant for Reaper attention, Bruce Wayne was already executing the second phase of the Batcave Protocol. Bruce had chosen the world for its abundance of deep Earth geothermal vents and its total lack of a magnetic field strong enough to interfere with his stealth systems. The Javelin was converted into a semi-permanent logistical hub, its stealth field a continuous, non-stop barrier. Bruce's focus was not on grand-scale engineering, but on pure intelligence and self-sufficiency. He began deploying a swarm of automated microbots, each equipped with non-ESO sonic sensors and specialized data mining firmware adapted from his home universe. These bots spread across the galaxy via a series of localized, hyper-advanced signal beacons, not using mass relays, but exploiting the subtle dark energy fluctuations that preceded any large-scale ESO-based FTL jump. Phoenix, status update on the Turian hierarchy security procedures and Stark's internal alliance contact. Bruce muttered, his fingers flying across the Batsuit's integrated wrist console, reverse engineering a discarded Turian Omni tool he'd salvaged. Admiral Hackett has been established as the primary contact, Mr. Wayne. He is a tactician. Stark is currently negotiating for resources and data access. The Turian general responsible for the capture is still unaware of the Alliance transfer. This schism provides us with a critical 4-day window of operational freedom before the Council fully mobilizes their response, Phoenix reported into his inner earpiece. 4 days is enough. We need to analyze the Genoflog and the Geth conflict immediately. The Reaper's strategy relies on exploiting organic chaos. If we can solve the two biggest points of galactic organic division, we strip the Reapers of their primary advantage, disunity. Focus on the Krogan homeworld, Tuchanka. It is a war zone, but its internal infrastructure and resource output are high risk, high reward. We need resources only the Krogan can provide. Dextro amino acid construction materials and unrefined element zero nodules for Stark's reverse engineering project. Bruce was going to Tuchanka, while Stark engaged in diplomatic shadow games with the Alliance and Turians. Wayne would dive into the most dangerous, morally complex location in the galaxy. He knew that if a solution to the Reaper threat existed, it would not be found in the sterile halls of the Citadel, but in the chaotic heart of the fight. The Batcave Protocol was officially online, its mission shifting from dimensional exploration to a tactical war of pure intelligence and material science against an ancient synthetic foe. The separation was tactical. Stark, the dazzling distraction and technological spear, would force the Alliance to commit resources while revealing only what was strategically necessary. Wayne, the Shadow, would establish the logistics chain, identify the key weaknesses of the galactic civilization, and secure the materials needed for their combined, non-ESO-based counter-offensive. The first step in breaking the cycle was learning its rules from the shadows. Stark's detention on the SSV Marathon was rapidly transitioning from a military interrogation to a high-stakes, technology-driven negotiation, primarily because the arc reactor technology was already feeding Hackett's engineers an unprecedented amount of data. The power source, generating clean, non-radioactive energy without Element Zero, represented a paradigm shift that, if replicated, could free the Alliance fleet from its reliance on dangerous and finite ESO cores. Stark had, in a classic power move, made himself indispensable. He conceded nothing of his proprietary secrets, only the results of the arc reactor's efficiency. Look, Admiral, you want a mass accelerator cannon that doesn't need a 30-foot ESO core to fire at maximum relativistic speeds? You want a kinetic barrier that doesn't shunt excess thermal energy back into the ship's radiators and make you a visible target? Then let me work. I need a place where I can integrate my tech with yours without a Turian general or a Solarian STG operative looking over my shoulder every time I breathe. I'm thinking Omega. Hackett's voice went cold. Omega is a pirate den run by Area T. Loke. That's insane, Stark. It's a logistical nightmare, a haven for Cerberus, and a political non-starter. Exactly, Stark countered, a dry smile touching his lips. It's politically neutral in the only way that matters, no council oversight. It has immense raw resource flow, no allegiance to the Alliance that the Reapers haven't already noticed, and it's full of criminals who operate on simple, transactional principles. Bruce, my partner, will need that environment. He operates better in the shadows. I operate better where the lights are brightest. Give me a secure, heavily armed R&D facility in a sector you can control, and I will deliver results. Otherwise, I walk, and the next weapon you see with my tech will be sold to the highest bidder on Omega. Hackett, facing the immediate collapse of the human homeworld and desperate for any advantage, begrudgingly agreed to a monitored, temporary base on a decommissioned orbital platform near the Krogan DMZ, granting Stark the logistical ambiguity he needed to coordinate with Wayne. As Stark was negotiating for his liberty and resources, Bruce Wayne was already in the Terminus systems, his low-signature shuttle making an undetected landing on a designated extraction zone on Tuchanka. The Krogan homeworld was an irradiated, post-apocalyptic wasteland, a testament to the genocidal power of the Solarians. The air shimmered with heat haze and toxic dust, and the only sounds were the distant roar of a Krogan battle cry and the relentless crackle of lightning over the ruins. The Batsuit's internal environmentals were set to maximum filtration, and the stealth field was constantly tuned to avoid the crude but effective sensory grids of the various Krogan clans. His objective was a specific, abandoned mine rich in unrefined ESO and a rare, dense metal only found on Tuchanka, which its suit's analysis had identified as the only stable structural material that could contain a continuous, full-output arc reactor when adapted to local physics. Wayne was not there to fight the Reapers. He was there to acquire resources, and more importantly, to acquire an understanding of the Krogan, the galaxy's greatest, most volatile fighting force. His initial encounter was not with a warlord, but with a patrol from Clan Erdnot. 3 massive Krogan warriors, their quadruple eyes scanning the ruins, were hunting what appeared to be a squad of Blood Pack mercenaries who had strayed into their territory. Bruce, observing from a collapsed turret tower, saw the Blood Pack try to outmaneuver the Erdnot patrol using superior firepower. The Krogan strategy, however, was brutal in its simplicity. One Krogan charged into heavy fire, his thick plates and regenerative capability shrugging off kinetic rounds, while the other 2 flanked, one wielding a massive custom-made Mass Effect hammer, the other a shotgun that tore through the mercenaries' kinetic barriers. The engagement was over in 90 seconds. The Blood Pack were either dead or dying.
The Urdnot Krogan, their armor scarred but their bodies healing rapidly, stood victorious. Phoenix, run a full psychological and tactical profile on the leader, emphasis on command structure and moral flexibility. Wayne transmitted internally. Initial profile indicates the leader, designated Urdnot Scar, is a battle master with significant field experience, high honor-based aggression, but low strategic intelligence. However, the data confirms Krogan reliance on material trade and a profound dissatisfaction with the genophage limitations. They are fighting a war they cannot win alone and are aware of the Alliance Council hypocrisy. Wayne saw the opportunity. He did not approach with a diplomatic handshake or a plea for aid. He approached with the most potent currency in the Terminus systems, an unprecedented technological advantage that would not compromise Krogan sovereignty. Activating his cowl's verbal synthesizer, he projected his voice, a deep, calm tone that cut through the dust and heat, not from his location, but from a nearby intact cargo container, confusing the Krogan's targeting systems. Urdnot, you fight well, but your technology is failing you. Your kinetic barriers are draining energy faster than your plates can regenerate. The Blood Pack had superior tracking systems that you countered only with superior aggression. You need a technological edge that the Council will never give you. Urdnot wheeled his heavy mass accelerator rifle, raised, eyes scanning the environment for the unseen enemy. Show yourself, Ghost. You speak like a weakling, but you smell like a challenge. Wayne stepped out of the shadow of the cargo container, not a figure of power, but one of calculated readiness. He held no weapon, only an advanced kinetic dampening emitter, a gadget that could theoretically nullify any mass accelerator weapon. My name is a non-factor. My offer is not. I can provide your clan with a non-element zero-based fabrication technology that can build weapons, barriers, and armor plating that the Council cannot track and that the Reapers have never encountered. It can synthesize the rare materials you need here on Tuchanka, independent of their trade lanes. I require two things. First, access to the unrefined Element Zero deposits in the abandoned mines west of your territory. And second, a temporary security detail of your best shock troopers for the duration of my work. This is not a request for a favor, it is a trade. Urdnot lowered his rifle slightly, his quadruple eyes narrowed. To offer non-council technology, that was dangerous. To offer a technological path independent of the genophage control, that was revolution. You ask for the heart of our land and our best warriors, Ghost. What stops us from simply taking your technology and killing you? Wayne, unmoving, his stealth suit absorbing the heat and light, gave the simplest, most terrifying answer. Because I am already inside your systems, Battlemaster, and because the man who built my technology is the only man in this galaxy who can make it work. Kill me, and you lose the war. Help me, and you gain the edge needed to take the fight to the Reapers. The negotiation on Tuchanka had begun, forcing the Krogan to confront a technological path independent of the old restrictive cycle. Bruce Wayne had traded a moral imperative for a tactical necessity, diving into the ethical gray to secure the resources Stark needed for the next phase of their non-EZO weapon development.
The orbital platform that Stark had secured, ironically designated Project Icarus by the Alliance, was a derelict research station positioned precariously on the fringe of the Krogan DMZ. It was politically justifiable, too close to Tuchanka for comfortable council scrutiny, yet too far from major Alliance traffic lanes to be easily compromised. Stark immediately used the platform's industrial fabricators to begin his most critical task, the integration of his arc reactor power source with Element Zero physics.
The existing Iron Man suit was a liability. The constant low-level EZO interference caused debilitating power spikes and drops. His energy weapons were neutered by kinetic barriers. The solution was counterintuitive, radical, and precisely the kind of challenge Tony Stark thrived on. Phoenix, run a continuous inverted EZO field oscillation matrix across the entire chassis. Instead of fighting the element zero, we need to ride the wave. We're going to use the mass effect fields themselves as a power conduit, Stark commanded, sparks flying around his improvised workbench as he manually rerouted the arc reactor's output regulators. Sir, this protocol will temporarily reduce your kinetic barrier effectiveness to 0 and risks catastrophic failure of the arc reactor core, essentially turning your armor into a very expensive, very inert coffin, Phoenix warned, the AI's voice showing a rare flicker of digital concern. Then let's get this right the first time, buddy. We need to turn the armor into a conduit, not a container. Every Mass Effect field is a localized warp in space-time. If we can sync the arc reactor's power output to that warp, use it as a constant low-power FTL bubble around the suit, we negate the EZO dampening and potentially gain a permanent micro-level mass reduction. We turn their physics into our power source. Give me the schematics for the Alliance's warp biotic attack. I want to see how they use EZO to destabilize matter. Over the next 36 hours, Stark was a blur of focused genius. He stripped the nanite plating, exposing the internal wiring and structural components. He wasn't just fixing his suit, he was designing a new class of armor, the Phoenix Protocol suit, that leveraged EZO physics without relying on the typical biotic amps or thermal clips. He reverse-engineered the Alliance kinetic barrier system, realizing its flaw was the constant energy drain. His solution was to power the barrier with the ambient EZO energy that permeated all of space, creating a self-sustaining defense that required almost no internal power. The result was a suit that was tactically compliant with the Mass Effect galaxy's rules of engagement. The repulsor rays were modified to emit a burst of concentrated, high-frequency energy that, when it hit a kinetic barrier, wouldn't just be deflected. Instead, it would use the barrier's own EZO field to create a temporary mass increase warp around the target, essentially paralyzing the enemy for a critical half-second before a secondary kinetic-based micro-missile finished the job. Stark had turned a defensive barrier into an offensive liability. Meanwhile, on Tuchanka, Bruce Wayne's negotiation with Urdnot-Skar had been successful because it was a pure, cold calculation of mutual benefit. The Krogan needed weapons to defeat the Reapers, and their pride prevented them from begging the Council for aid. Wayne needed non-EZO materials and a base of operations outside the Council's radar. Bruce provided Skar with the blueprints for a compact, non-EZO geothermal-powered automated fabrication unit designed to rapidly synthesize high-tensile armor plating from raw Tuchankan elements. In return, Wayne was given limited, supervised access to the old EZO mines and a security detail of 20 Krogan, Battlemaster Skar's own personal crushers, who were more interested in watching his advanced, non-council tech than in guarding him. Wayne's work was less flashy than Stark's, but far more critical to their strategic goal. He established deep earth sonic sensors around the abandoned Ezo mine, not just to detect enemy approach, but to monitor the subtle, large-scale movements of the Reaper fleet in the local cluster, the telltale Ezo wake left by their FTL jumps. During a tense moment of material extraction, a small patrol of Cerberus troops, led by a ruthless cell leader named Jax, attempted to infiltrate the mine. Cerberus had tracked the anomalous energy signatures from Stark's initial arrival and had dedicated assets to finding the source of the non-Ezo technology. The 20 Krogan Crushers met the 5 Cerberus operatives in a brutal skirmish. The Krogan, relying on sheer durability and short-range firepower, were overwhelming, but the Cerberus team was cunning, using advanced biotic dampening fields and highly accurate sniper fire. Bruce Wayne, observing the fight, saw the flaw in Krogan tactics. They were too reliant on their regeneration. He didn't engage with conventional weaponry. Instead, he utilized the integrated sonics of his batsuit to disrupt the Cerberus biotic dampeners, and then, deploying an advanced taser net that worked on high-frequency electrical pulses instead of Ezo, he neutralized the sniper who was pinning down the Krogan. Urdnot Scar, momentarily stunned by the sudden, silent shift in the battle, watched the ghost move, a blur of shadow that did not fire a shot but changed the tactical landscape completely. After the short fight, as the Krogan were executing the last of the Cerberus prisoners, Scar turned to Wayne. "Your ghost tech saved my scout's life, Ghost. You fight like a warrior, but you do not kill. Why? These Cerberus are enemies of all life." "Dead enemies tell no tales, Battlemaster. Captured enemies can be interrogated," Wayne responded, extracting a Cerberus datapad from the neutralized sniper. "I need to know who sent them, and more importantly, what they know about my technology." Wayne had secured a critical resource, unrefined Ezo for Stark, established a formidable, if morally ambiguous, alliance with the Krogan, and most importantly, gained his first hard intelligence on the local antagonist, Cerberus. He now had the first piece of the puzzle connecting Stark's capture to the elusive man's network. The convergence of their resources and intelligence was now only a matter of time. The two humans had their targets. Stark would perfect the non-Ezo weapon, and Wayne would use the Krogan to crush the burgeoning Cerberus threat in the Terminus systems.
The Phoenix Protocol suit, PPS, was a tactical marvel born from Stark's focused rage against the limitations of Element Zero. In a live-fire test inside Project Icarus's reinforced hangar, Stark demonstrated its new capabilities to a small, hand-picked team of Alliance N7 specialists. He faced a stationary target protected by a military-grade kinetic barrier. "Standard repulsor fire is a dud against Ezo barriers," Stark announced over the comms, his voice now slightly distorted by the new suit's internal dampeners. "But the PPS is different. It doesn't fight the barrier, it uses the barrier's own field. Phoenix, full output on the kinetic warp projector." Stark fired a repulsor blast. Instead of a linear beam of energy, a complex high-frequency wave of energy hit the barrier. For a visible half-second, the blue shimmer of the barrier was warped inward, turning a localized area a deep, sickly purple. The mass of the air and the target within the purple zone momentarily spiked to near infinity. Then the PPS immediately fired a micro-projectile, a traditional mass accelerator round he'd reverse-engineered, into the paralyzed zone, tearing through the now useless barrier and shredding the target.
The kinetic warp projector briefly turns the defensive EZO field into a localized singularity, using the throw mechanic of a biotic to massively increase mass, then hits the now inert target with a pure kinetic strike. We don't need exotic energy to defeat their shields. We just need a better understanding of their physics, Stark explained, the suit's arc reactor now glowing a steady, stable blue. I call it biotics for the chemically impaired. The N7 specialists were stunned. The speed and efficiency were staggering, and the non-EZO power source meant the weapon could not be easily tracked or jammed by conventional means. Hackett had his weapon. The success of the PPS, however, accelerated the interest of the galaxy's most dangerous independent faction, Cerberus. The captured datapad from Tuchanka, now decrypted by Phoenix with input from Wayne, confirmed the elusive man's fixation. Tim wasn't just interested in the tech. He saw Stark and Wayne as the ultimate synthesis of human potential, genius, resource, and unindoctrinatable intellect, the perfect tools for his humanity-first war. Phoenix has intercepted multiple encrypted Cerberus comms, sir. The initial failure to acquire your armor has led to a strategic shift. They are no longer attempting direct infiltration of Project Icarus. Their new objective, designated Ascension, appears to be the isolation and acquisition of Bruce Wayne's non-EZO logistical and intelligence networks, Phoenix warned Stark. They're after Bruce. Why? The elusive man recognizes that the armor is only a weapon, Mr. Stark. The real threat to his organization is the intelligence network that can operate completely outside the extranet, the Batcave protocol itself. Wayne's network is already generating superior tactical data on Cerberus's black site operations than the Alliance's own intelligence units. They are sending Kai Leng. The mention of Kai Leng, Cerberus's cybernetically enhanced assassin, and the elusive man's brutal operative immediately elevated the threat level. Stark knew this was no longer a game of technological one-upmanship. It was a tactical, personal war against a ruthless opponent. The focus shifted to Omega, the chaotic space station run by the self-proclaimed queen of the Terminus, Area T. Loke. Area, pragmatic and ruthlessly intelligent, was their next target for an alliance. Wayne needed a secure, high-traffic node to expand his intelligence network, and Stark needed a source of the incredibly rare, naturally occurring volatile element zero isotopes, the only material that could power a full-scale, non-EZO FTL drive of the necessary caliber. Omega was a hub for black market acquisition. Stark arrived on Omega in the PPS not as a diplomatic envoy, but as an unsubtle declaration of power. He flew the suit directly into the Afterlife Club, Omega's central hub, ignoring Aria's heavily armed guards. The assembled criminals, Krogan, Vorcha, Batarians, and Turians, all turned their weapons on him. "I need to talk to the Queen," Stark announced, the suit's voice echoing with metallic confidence. Aria, the Asari Queen of Omega, a powerful biotic, sat on her throne, radiating an aura of bored menace. "You are bold, human. Alliance dogs rarely fly into my territory uninvited. You have 3 seconds to state your intention before my biotics peel your armor off like a sardine can." Her blue energy of her biotic field was already beginning to glow. "My intention is to hire you to secure and process a delivery of highly volatile, unrefined EZO isotopes, and to provide a secure, low-signature route for my partner to operate his intelligence network. I offer something no one else in this galaxy can. Protection from the Reapers that doesn't rely on the Citadel. Protection from the Reapers that doesn't rely on the Citadel," Stark said, a hand extended, not in peace, but with a highly advanced encrypted datapad. I'll pay in technology, a non-ESO geothermal-powered energy shield generator that can power your entire station with 50% less operational costs. Your kingdom, your rules, but your power source will be mine. No council, no alliance, no Cerberus, just Arya T. Loke ruling Omega with a power grid no one can shut down. Arya's eyes flickered from the suit to the datapad. She was accustomed to power. Stark was offering efficiency and independence from the very physics that governed the galaxy. If she could be free of the need for the dangerous, volatile ESO cores, her station would be invulnerable. The price for volatile ESO is high, human, and this partner of yours, if he compromises my network, I will turn him to ash. He's a ghost. If you catch him, you keep the shield generator, Stark countered. Deal? Arya, her biotic energy dissipating, finally smiled, a cold, calculating expression. Deal. Welcome to Omega, Mr. Stark. Try not to break anything important. Or do. I don't care, as long as you pay. Stark had secured the volatile resource and the necessary shadow route, but his public alliance with the Queen of Omega guaranteed the full attention of Cerberus and the Council. He had thrown a strategic wrench into the war machine, giving Bruce Wayne the perfect theater of operations for the next phase, a deep dive into the terminus systems to neutralize Kai Leng and Cerberus while securing the ESO needed to build the non-ESO FTL drive.
Bruce Wayne's new operational theater was the sprawling, dangerous underbelly of the terminus systems, and his partnership with the Krogan was proving to be a highly effective, if ethically challenging, arrangement. Urdnot Scar's Crushers were the perfect security detail, intimidating, absolutely loyal to the trade agreement, and utterly unconcerned with the moral gray of their activities. Under the guise of the Krogan material retrieval operation, Wayne was systematically mapping Cerberus's supply lines and black site communications, using the volatile environment of Omega as a massive, noisy distraction. His intelligence efforts were focused on finding the command and control node for Kai Leng's operation, the plan to steal the Batcave Protocol network. Wayne's investigation led him to a small, isolated moon in the Kepler Verge, a system previously deemed too insignificant to monitor by both the Alliance and the Reapers. The moon held a decommissioned Batarian slaving outpost, now repurposed by Cerberus as a highly guarded, biometric-locked intelligence hub. Phoenix, confirm Kai Leng's presence at the outpost and run a full predictive analysis on his combat profile based on the Cerberus files we pulled from the Tuchanka team, Wayne requested, clad in his new, environmentally sealed stealth batsuit, which now incorporated a limited form of kinetic barrier to dampen the sound of his movements against the moon's surface. High probability of Kai Leng's presence, Mr. Wayne. The profile suggests a highly skilled melee combatant with significant cybernetic and biotic enhancements. He utilizes a phase disruptor sword, kinetic barriers, and has a dangerously high tolerance for pain. He is trained to the absolute limit of human capability, the elusive man's apex assassin. Warning, his speed profile is significantly higher than your maximum baseline, Phoenix reported with clinical detachment. Speed is a factor, but not the only factor. He relies on his enhancements. I rely on their failure, Wayne murmured, already crafting a tactical solution. The infiltration was textbook Batman. He bypassed the perimeter security by using a custom-made non-ESO electromagnetic pulse grenade that shut down the Batarian-designed sensors without tripping the Cerberus internal alarm.
He used the cover of a simulated localized storm to mask his thermal signature and entered the facility through a primary air vent, navigating the complex like a ghost. Kai Leng was in the command center, coordinating the final stage of the Ascension Protocol, a plan to use a hijacked Alliance frigate to bomb the Batcave Protocol site into oblivion and steal the hard drives containing the non-ESO FTL schematics. When Wayne breached the room, he didn't attack. He waited for Leng to turn, and in the space of a single heartbeat, he used a localized acoustic emitter to blast a high-frequency, non-lethal sonic pulse directly into the command center's comm array, frying the primary satellite uplinks. This was the opening. He had blinded Leng and the entire operation, cutting the assassin off from the elusive man. "Cerberus is a failure. Your ascension is over," Wayne stated, his voice a distorted promise of violence in the enclosed space. Kai Leng, turning, was a blur of enhanced muscle and hatred, his phase disruptor blade igniting with a lethal crimson glow. "The bat, the ghost the elusive man wants. I'll take your brain back piece by piece." The fight was a brutal collision between augmented human technology and pure, optimized human skill. Leng was faster, his biotic-assisted dashes blurring past Wayne. His phase disruptor blade cut through the Batsuit's kinetic barrier, forcing Wayne to rely on his internal armor plating. Wayne countered not with brute force, but with distraction and the manipulation of the environment. He used his grapple gun to swing around Leng, disrupting Leng's rhythm, then deployed miniature super-adhesive shock pellets designed to stick to the phase disruptor blade. When the pellets were in place, he activated them, sending a high-voltage charge through the blade, causing a temporary surge that overloaded the ESO core. Leng roared in frustrated pain as the weapon flickered and failed. He reverted to biotic attacks, a powerful throw that sent Wayne slamming against a wall. Wayne used the moment of impact not as a defeat, but as a repositioning. As Leng charged, Wayne used a low-power concentrated element zero dampener, a device stolen and refined from the Tuchanka mine, and deployed it directly onto Leng's primary biotic amplifier, his cybernetic forearm. Leng's speed faltered, and his subsequent biotic charge was weak and localized. Wayne, seizing the opportunity, closed the distance and utilized a precision, rapid-fire sequence of pressure point strikes, a martial art only perfected by a human at peak condition. A strike to the carotid artery, a blow to the solar plexus, and a final disabling kick to the compromised cybernetic arm. Len crumpled, spitting blood and defiance. "You can't kill me. I am Cerberus, humanity's future." "You are a slave to a lie, and you're done," Wayne said, the finality in his voice absolute. He didn't kill Leng, he neutralized him and prepared him for extraction. Leng's value as a live intelligence source was exponentially higher than his value as a corpse. He had achieved his objective. The Cerberus command structure in the Terminus systems was decapitated, the Ascension Protocol was averted, and the assassin who threatened their operation was now a prime interrogation asset. His non-lethal doctrine had paid massive strategic dividends. He contacted Stark using an unjammable burst transmission. Cerberus asset neutralized. System safe. Proceed with FTL refinement. Preparing for extraction to Omega. Bruce transmitted, the shadow operation moving into the light for the final stages of their preparations.
The neutralization of Kai Leng sent shockwaves through the Terminus systems and, critically, back to the elusive man's command center. The failure was unprecedented. His most trusted operative, defeated not by an army or a specter, but by a solitary figure without overt biotics or EZO-based weapons, a figure who had then simply vanished with his prize. The elusive man recognized the strategic implications. Stark and Wayne were operating completely outside the parameters of his predictions, threatening his entire understanding of human potential. This unpredicted variable immediately drew the attention of the ultimate enemy, the Reapers. On Project Icarus, Stark and the Alliance N7 team were beginning the arduous process of integrating the volatile EZO isotopes acquired via Area's network into the core of their new FTL drive prototype. This drive, the Phoenix Drive, was designed to use the element zero simply as a dense reactive mass, converting its potential energy directly into a contained dimensional warp, entirely bypassing the mass relay network. The volatile isotopes were highly reactive and required a non-EZO supercooled containment field, a field that only Stark's specialized metallurgy and the arc reactor could generate. During a crucial calibration sequence, the system alarms began to blare, not a Cerberus or Alliance signature, but something far worse. Warning, Mr. Stark, multiple high-energy Reaper signatures are approaching at FTL velocity. They are not following the typical cycle path or using standard relay jumps. They are initiating a localized high-yield warp of spacetime, similar to a specialized biotic ability, but on a massive scale. They are targeting Project Icarus directly. Phoenix's voice was strained, the AI struggling to process the impossible tactical data. They're taking a shortcut. They've never done that before, Stark muttered, quickly donning the PPS. They're deviating from the cycle. My technology is a new enough variable that they're prioritizing it. The Reapers, specifically a destroyer-class vanguard, materialized not from a mass relay, but from a sudden, violent tear in space just outside the station's kinetic barrier perimeter. They were not here to harvest. They were here to study and eliminate the deviation. The destroyer opened fire. The projectiles, hypervelocity mass accelerator rounds, slammed into Project Icarus's standard Alliance kinetic barrier. The barrier shimmered, then collapsed catastrophically. The station's internal alarms screamed. Stark's immediate response was tactical brilliance. He didn't engage the destroyer. Instead, he flew out of the station, using his new kinetic warp projector not as a weapon, but as a defensive flare. He fired multiple pulses at the Reaper's main firing arrays, creating temporary, localized mass increase warps that momentarily threw off the destroyer's targeting systems. He immediately communicated with Hackett. Admiral, the Reapers are here. I need one ship, any ship, to engage the destroyer at maximum range, just enough to keep it occupied. We need 15 minutes to stabilize the Phoenix Drive core for an emergency short-range jump. Hackett, witnessing the impossible attack, immediately diverted the SSV Marathon, the frigate that had captured Stark, to engage the destroyer in a desperate holding action. Meanwhile, a secondary, smaller force of Reaper ground troops, Sovereign-class husks, and specialized cannibals breached Project Icarus through the hull breaches. These were not random foot soldiers. They were an indoctrination task force, armed with specialized biotic amplifiers designed to mentally break the personnel and co-opt the technology. Stark, knowing his technology was the true target, engaged the task force directly in the station's core manufacturing facility. The fight was a blur of repurposed science. The husks and cannibals, powered by their internal Reaper tech, lunged at him, their biotics glowing sickly orange. Stark met them not with overwhelming firepower, but with a refined understanding of EZO physics. He deployed a non-lethal wide-area pulse that directly countered the frequency of the Reaper biotics, causing the Husk's biotic amps to overload and momentarily seize.
He used the brief pause to methodically neutralize them with non-lethal sonic disruptors adapted from Wayne's gear. The real threat was not the ground troops, but the constant subliminal pressure from the destroyer. Stark felt the pervasive ancient Reaper indoctrination attempt, a silent, creeping mental corruption. It was not a physical attack. It was a voice of utter cosmic dread whispering in his mind, telling him that his genius was merely a blip, a tool to be harvested, and that resistance was pointless. Your cycles are irrelevant. Your progress is temporary. Your mind will serve. The collective will use your innovation to perfect the harvest. Stark, a man whose self-confidence was his greatest shield, felt the subtle erosion of his certainty. He fought it not with willpower, but with the purest expression of his ego. Phoenix, run a continuous personalized counter-indoctrination loop. Play the full, unedited discography of AC/DC at maximum volume. Drown out the space squid. I will not serve. The sheer, arrogant volume of the counter-indoctrination protocol, a chaotic mix of rock and digital noise, was enough to temporarily fracture the Reaper's psychic assault. Just as the Marathon was catastrophically disabled by the destroyer's relentless fire, Stark and the N7 team, their faces white with the strain of fighting the mental assault, managed to stabilize the volatile core. Core integrity stabilized, Mr. Stark. Preparing for FTL jump. Where are we going? Phoenix demanded. To the one place the Reapers won't expect me to run, and where Bruce is waiting. Omega, get us to Area T-Loke's docks. We're going to pay her a premium for a secure, hidden place to finish this. Stark commanded, the Phoenix protocol suit launching itself from the crippled station just as the destroyer delivered the final fatal blow. He had survived, but the Reapers had confirmed his status as a critical, unpredicted variable. The cycle was officially broken, and the full weight of Harbinger's attention was now focused on the two human engineers who refused to play by the rules of extinction.
The emergency FTL jump was a dizzying, disorienting experience. Unlike the smooth, controlled trajectory of a mass relay, the Phoenix Drive prototype, contained within a heavily armored secondary shuttle module, used a raw, contained Element Zero explosion to locally warp space-time. Stark, barely conscious from the psychic assault of the Reaper indoctrination attempt, piloted the shuttle directly into Omega's docking bay, crashing hard against the heavily reinforced floor of the Afterlife Club's cargo hold. He had honored the bargain. Arya T-Loke, surrounded by her heavily armed diverse guards, Krogan, Vorcha, and Turian mercenaries, walked up to the crumpled suit, her expression a mix of awe and predatory interest. "You bring me trouble, human," Arya stated, her biotic field crackling with annoyance. A Reaper destroyer was just seen jumping out of the Alliance's primary defense perimeter in a way I've never seen before. Now you crash my cargo bay. Your price just went up. "My price is your compliance, Arya," Stark managed, the PPS suit automatically deploying an internal medical field to counter the residual psychic trauma. The Reaper-class synthetic is actively hunting this technology. If you don't give me the most secure, hidden, self-contained manufacturing facility on this station, you'll be hosting a Reaper invasion, and your rule over Omega will be a very short, very final one. My partner, the one you call the Ghost, is already here. Bruce Wayne emerged from the shadows of the cargo hold, his batsuit now equipped with an Alliance standard Omni tool, the key to accessing the extranet and coordinating across the galactic battle map. He had used the chaos of the Reaper attack to bring the captured Kai Leng into a heavily secured, non-extranet compliant holding cell deep within Omega's labyrinthine maintenance tunnels.
"The price is simple, Arya," Wayne interjected, his voice cutting through Stark's exhaustion. "Security. You give us the largest fabrication facility on Omega, the one you use for dreadnought black market parts, and 2 squads of your best information brokers. In exchange, we don't just give you a static shield, we give you blueprints for a full, mobile, non-ESO FTL drive to put on your own capital ship, the Kodiak. Enough to take your kingdom anywhere in the galaxy, independent of the Reaper's cycle. You want ultimate power? We can give you ultimate escape." The offer of ultimate independence was the only thing that could sway Arya. She agreed, and Stark and Wayne immediately established their combined operational headquarters on Omega, naming it the Foundry. The Foundry was a convergence of 2 technological geniuses focused now on a singular, impossible goal: to weaponize the non-ESO FTL drive, not for escape, but for a direct targeted strike against the heart of the Reaper threat. Stark's immediate task was to refine the Phoenix Drive into a weapon, a device that could use a contained non-ESO dimensional warp to deliver a payload directly into the center of a Reaper capital ship, bypassing the entire mass relay network. Wayne held up the datapad containing the schematics of the elusive man's headquarters and the location of the main Reaper invasion fleet. "We don't need a weapon, Tony. We need a distraction. The Reapers see us as a technological threat to be eliminated. We have to make them see us as a strategic threat to be studied." Wayne's final plan was audacious and perfectly in line with his philosophy of fear and psychological warfare. They would not attack the main Reaper fleet. They would use the Phoenix Drive to launch a surgical strike against the elusive man's flagship and headquarters, delivering a complex, non-ESO-based time-delayed electromagnetic pulse designed to overload his cybernetics and sever his indoctrinated connection to the Reapers. The resulting chaos and loss of the elusive man's command structure would force a catastrophic shift in the Reaper command and control hierarchy. Their success on Omega meant they were now ready for the final direct confrontation with the galaxy's most dangerous human and, indirectly, the ultimate synthetic machine. The choice was clear: sacrifice the immediate fight to strike at the enemy's brain, not its fist.
The final assault was a testament to the combined genius of the 2 displaced engineers, relying on precision and psychological warfare rather than overwhelming firepower. The target was the elusive man's secret headquarters, a complex built into the shell of a massive, derelict Prothean orbital station on the fringes of the Andromeda Initiative's initial survey zone. It was protected by Cerberus's most advanced security, including specialized antibiotic defenses and powerful localized kinetic barriers. The strike craft was not a fleet, but a single, heavily modified freighter, Arya Tlok's Kodiak, crewed by Wayne, Stark, and a small, hand-picked squad of Arya's most loyal Turian and Krogan mercenaries. Stark had installed the stabilized Phoenix Drive into the freighter's core, giving them the unprecedented ability to bypass the mass relay network and jump directly into the system. Phoenix Drive engaging. Warning, the temporal distortion will be substantial. Next stop, the elusive man's front door, Phoenix announced, its voice calm even as the freighter was subjected to extreme gravitational forces. They materialized in the target system, immediately coming under fire from the station's heavy kinetic Gannon batteries. The Kodiak's kinetic barriers were useless against the concentrated fire. Stark, in the PPS, launched immediately, drawing fire. "I'm the distraction.
Bruce, you have exactly 90 seconds from deployment to neutralize the Central Command Core and upload the EMP. Our window before the Reapers mobilize the entire fleet is tight. Stark, employing the new principles of EZO manipulation, engaged the station's main cannons. Instead of destroying them, he used his kinetic warp projectors to create temporary high-mass singularities around the firing mechanisms, causing the cannons to tear themselves apart under their own mass effect fields. The psychological effect was immediate. The Cerberus defenders were facing weapons that did not behave according to galactic physics. While Stark fought the station, Bruce Wayne used a low-signature extraction shuttle to bypass the external defenses, aiming for the main command nexus. His mission was not a brute force assault. It was an infiltration, relying on his master-level stealth and technological neutralization. He encountered little armed resistance from standard Cerberus troops. The entire complex was wired to respond to one man, the elusive man. Tim, alerted to the presence of the anomalous technology, was not afraid. He was expecting the confrontation. His indoctrination was subtle but profound. He was convinced that he and he alone could control the cycle. You disappoint me, Bruce Wayne. The potential of your intelligence network and Stark's non-EZO technology were a brilliant path for humanity's ascension. A shame you cling to your juvenile code and pathetic ethics. The Reapers are order. They are evolution. Tim's voice, a calm, seductive whisper, came over a localized comlink Wayne could not shut down. Wayne entered the command center, a room built to mimic Tim's preferences, low light, smoke, and a holographic map of the galaxy. The elusive man sat at his console, his face illuminated by the holographic projection. He was the only one in the room. Your ideology is a synthetic corruption, elusive man. You are not controlling them, you are being controlled, Wayne stated, deploying a non-lethal wide-area sonic neutralizer designed to overload the cybernetic and auditory senses. Tim merely smiled, the sonic pulse causing no visible discomfort. A futile gesture. My connections are internal, woven into the very fabric of my being, and I am ready for you, Batman. Tim initiated a powerful biotic singularity, pulling him toward him. The biotic ability, amplified by early-stage Reaper tech, was immense. Wayne's kinetic barrier crumpled. Wayne, relying on his final desperate gambit, didn't fight the pull, he used it. As he was pulled into the singularity, he activated a single-use, non-EZO kinetic feedback emitter, designed not to attack Tim, but to resonate with his cybernetic implants, turning the power of his own biotic attack back against his body. The elusive man screamed, a sound of agony and pure surprise. The cybernetic link to the Reaper Collective was momentarily severed, causing catastrophic neurological feedback. Wayne, momentarily free, executed his mission. He plunged a modified Omni tool directly into the command console, initiating the Phoenix EMP upload, a localized, non-EZO electromagnetic pulse specifically tuned to fry the elusive man's cybernetic implants and his physical connection to the Reaper network. Tim, his face a mask of neurological pain, grabbed a pistol. I am control. You won't break the cycle. No, Shepard will choose. Wayne moved with lightning speed, disarming the pistol with a perfectly aimed batarang that was designed to neutralize any EZO-based weapon. Then he incapacitated the elusive man with a single, precise, non-lethal pressure point strike. The EMP erupted, not as a flash, but a silent, localized wave of pure energy that fried every cybernetic implant in the room, and, more importantly, severed the elusive man's psychic bond to the Reaper Collective. On the bridge of the Kodiak, Stark received the confirmation. EMP successfully deployed. The elusive man's command structure is down. Massive Reaper local fleet mobilization is now imminent. We have seconds. Time to go home, Stark said, pushing the Phoenix drive to its absolute maximum. The Kodiak vanished in a blinding flash of Element Zero energy, leaving behind a crippled Cerberus station and a screaming, mentally broken elusive man, now free of indoctrination but stripped of his power. The blow was purely psychological and strategic. The elusive man was gone, Cerberus was in chaos, and the Reapers were now dealing with a complete breakdown of their primary human asset. The two human engineers had altered the rules of engagement.
The final assault was a testament to the combined genius of the two displaced engineers, relying on precision and psychological warfare rather than overwhelming firepower. The target was the elusive man's secret headquarters, a complex built into the shell of a massive, derelict Prothean orbital station on the fringes of the Andromeda Initiative's initial survey zone. It was protected by Cerberus's most advanced security, including specialized antibiotic defenses and powerful localized kinetic barriers. The strike craft was not a fleet, but a single, heavily modified freighter, Arya Tlok's Kodiak, crewed by Wayne, Stark, and a small, hand-picked squad of Arya's most loyal Turian and Krogan mercenaries. Stark had installed the stabilized Phoenix drive into the freighter's core, giving them the unprecedented ability to bypass the mass relay network and jump directly into the system. Phoenix drive engaging. Warning, the temporal distortion will be substantial. Next stop, the elusive man's front door, Phoenix announced, its voice calm even as the freighter was subjected to extreme gravitational forces. They materialized in the target system, immediately coming under fire from the station's heavy kinetic Gannon batteries. The Kodiak's kinetic barriers were useless against the concentrated fire. Stark, in the PPS, launched immediately, drawing fire. I'm the distraction. Bruce, you have exactly 90 seconds from deployment to neutralize the Central Command Core and upload the EMP. Our window before the Reapers mobilize the entire fleet is tight. Stark, employing the new principles of EZO manipulation, engaged the station's main cannons. Instead of destroying them, he used his kinetic warp projectors to create temporary high-mass singularities around the firing mechanisms, causing the cannons to tear themselves apart under their own mass effect fields. The psychological effect was immediate. The Cerberus defenders were facing weapons that did not behave according to galactic physics. While Stark fought the station, Bruce Wayne used a low-signature extraction shuttle to bypass the external defenses, aiming for the main command nexus. His mission was not a brute force assault. It was an infiltration, relying on his master-level stealth and technological neutralization. He encountered little armed resistance from standard Cerberus troops. The entire complex was wired to respond to one man, the elusive man. Tim, alerted to the presence of the anomalous technology, was not afraid. He was expecting the confrontation. His indoctrination was subtle but profound. He was convinced that he and he alone could control the cycle. You disappoint me, Bruce Wayne. The potential of your intelligence network and Stark's non-EZO technology were a brilliant path for humanity's ascension. A shame you cling to your juvenile code and pathetic ethics. The Reapers are order. They are evolution. Tim's voice, a calm, seductive whisper, came over a localized comlink Wayne could not shut down. Wayne entered the command center, a room built to mimic Tim's preferences, low light, smoke, and a holographic map of the galaxy. The elusive man sat at his console, his face illuminated by the holographic projection. He
he was the only one in the room. Your ideology is a synthetic corruption, elusive man. You are not controlling them, you are being controlled, Wayne stated, deploying a non-lethal wide-area sonic neutralizer designed to overload the cybernetic and auditory senses. Tim merely smiled, the sonic pulse causing no visible discomfort. A futile gesture. My connections are internal, woven into the very fabric of my being, and I am ready for you, Batman. Tim initiated a powerful biotic singularity, pulling him toward him. The biotic ability, amplified by early-stage Reaper tech, was immense. Wayne's kinetic barrier crumpled. Wayne, relying on his final desperate gambit, didn't fight the pull, he used it. As he was pulled into the singularity, he activated a single-use, non-ezo kinetic feedback emitter, designed not to attack Tim, but to resonate with his cybernetic implants, turning the power of his own biotic attack back against his body. The elusive man screamed, a sound of agony and pure surprise. The cybernetic link to the Reaper Collective was momentarily severed, causing catastrophic neurological feedback. Wayne, momentarily free, executed his mission. He plunged a modified Omni tool directly into the command console, initiating the Phoenix EMP upload, a localized, non-ezo electromagnetic pulse specifically tuned to fry the elusive man's cybernetic implants and his physical connection to the Reaper network. Tim, his face a mask of neurological pain, grabbed a pistol. I am control. You won't break the cycle. No, Shepard will choose. Wayne moved with lightning speed, disarming the pistol with a perfectly aimed batarang that was designed to neutralize any ezo-based weapon. Then he incapacitated the elusive man with a single, precise, non-lethal pressure point strike. The EMP erupted, not as a flash, but a silent, localized wave of pure energy that fried every cybernetic implant in the room, and, more importantly, severed the elusive man's psychic bond to the Reaper Collective. On the bridge of the Kodiak, Stark received the confirmation. EMP successfully deployed. The elusive man's command structure is down. Massive Reaper local fleet mobilization is now imminent. We have seconds. Time to go home, Stark said, pushing the Phoenix drive to its absolute maximum. The Kodiak vanished in a blinding flash of Element Zero energy, leaving behind a crippled Cerberus station and a screaming, mentally broken elusive man, now free of indoctrination, but stripped of his power. The blow was purely psychological and strategic. The elusive man was gone, Cerberus was in chaos, and the Reapers were now dealing with a complete breakdown of their primary human asset. The two human engineers had altered the rules of engagement.
The strategic decapitation of Cerberus's command structure sent the expected cascade of chaos through the Reaper forces. The elusive man's sudden silence, coupled with the unexplained destruction of his headquarters by a technology the Reapers did not predict, forced a reevaluation within the collective mind of Harbinger. The Phoenix Drive and the non-ezo tech were no longer a mere localized anomaly. They were a significant, unassimilable variable that threatened the integrity of the cycle itself. Stark and Wayne, aboard the Kodiak, executed a series of short, chaotic, non-relay jumps, using the Phoenix Drive's immense power to stay just ahead of the mobilizing Reaper destroyer fleet. They were not running home, they were making a calculated escape toward the final theater of the war, Earth and the Crucible. Their final action was not a direct military attack, but an act of strategic communication. Using the elusive man's hijacked non-ESO communications satellite array, now running off the Phoenix Drive's power, they transmitted all the intelligence gathered, the true nature of Reaper indoctrination, the elusive man's control by the machines, and the fact that the Reapers were allowing the Crucible to be built. The data burst, transmitted directly to Admiral Hackett and the Alliance Council forces, forced a galaxy-wide moment of terrifying clarity. The Reapers were not fighting the Crucible, they were managing it. Stark landed the Kodiak on the Alliance-controlled construction platform orbiting Earth amidst the massive fragmented components of the Crucible. The final battle was already beginning. Thousands of ships, human, Turian, Krogan, Solarian, and Asari, were engaged in a desperate final defense against the full might of the Reaper fleet. Stark immediately went to work, ignoring the desperate calls from the field. He stripped the Phoenix Drive from the Kodiak, intending to integrate the refined non-ESO power core directly into the Crucible's primary energy conduits. The Crucible is just a focusing array. It needs a power source the Reapers don't control. The Phoenix Drive is that source, Stark explained to the Alliance engineers. It'll bypass the catalyst entirely and flood the Crucible with non-ESO, non-cycle compliant energy. It won't destroy all synthetics, control the Reapers, or force synthesis. It will simply overload the Reapers' ability to communicate, coordinate, and utilize Element Zero within the effective radius of the attack. It breaks their ability to function. Meanwhile, Bruce Wayne, seeing the final desperate nature of the ground fight on Earth, knew his role was no longer logistics. It was the only way he knew how to lead, by example. He left the PPS to Stark and donned his highly mobile, unaugmented batsuit, customized with internal kinetic shielding and non-lethal high-frequency sonic disruptors. He deployed onto the ruins of London, joining the desperate N7 forces defending the final conduit to the Crucible. The fight was brutal. Reaper forces, husks, marauders, and brutes were overwhelming the human forces. Wayne moved through the chaos like a ghost, his martial prowess unmatched. He didn't carry a gun, but his sonic disruptors were tailored to overload the bioamplifiers of the Reaper ground troops, causing localized, non-lethal but entirely disabling neurological seizures. He was a force multiplier, moving among the N7 squads, protecting flanks and disabling key enemies, allowing the Alliance to hold the line. He didn't kill, he neutralized. In the eyes of the N7 forces, he was not Iron Man's partner, but a silent, terrifying angel of tactical death. As the battle raged, Stark, fighting exhaustion, successfully integrated the Phoenix Drive into the Crucible. The drive was activated, sending a massive, unfiltered pulse of non-ESO, non-cycle compliant energy into the superweapon's core. The Crucible did not fire a red, blue, or green beam. Instead, it emitted a silent, pulsing golden wave of pure localized energy disruption that spread across the Earth system and through the mass relay network. The effect was instantaneous and catastrophic for the Reapers. Every Reaper capital ship within the effective radius of the Golden Pulse went dark. Their Element Zero cores were not destroyed, but their ability to use ESO physics, their thrusters, their weapon accelerators, their kinetic barriers, and most critically, their collective communication link, was severed by the non-ESO interference. The Golden Pulse was not a destructive weapon, it was a mute button. The Reapers, the masters of the cycle, were suddenly reduced to massive, inert targets, unable to communicate, coordinate, or utilize the very physics of the galaxy they sought to control. The war had not ended with a single cataclysmic choice, but with a strategic act of pure disruptive genius. The silent golden pulse from the Phoenix-powered crucible did not destroy all synthetic life, nor did it turn the organic forces into a mind-controlled collective. It simply fractured the core of the Reaper threat, their ability to utilize Element Zero, and, most importantly, their collective consciousness. The massive, inert Reaper capital ships, hundreds of them, now drifted helplessly across the battlefields of the galaxy, the objects of a final, unified, organic-synthetic mopping-up operation. The cycle was not broken by the choices offered by the Catalyst, but bypassed by a reality the Reapers never predicted. Tony Stark watched the Alliance fleets begin the mop-up operation from the Normandy's temporary command bridge, an exhausted smile on his face. His technology, refined by the necessity of the fight, had not just saved the galaxy, it had revolutionized it. He had provided the entire galactic community with a new technological path, a post-EZO future, free from the constraints of the Prothean Reaper cycle. He immediately began working with Alliance engineers to retrofit the Phoenix Drive into a stable, non-EZO FTL technology, ensuring the galaxy could rebuild its transit network independent of the mass relays. His focus was now on the final step, building a stable two-way bridge back to his own universe. Bruce Wayne was nowhere to be seen. True to his nature, he had dissolved into the urban wreckage of London the moment the Golden Pulse hit, leaving behind only the neutralized bodies of the Reaper ground troops and a final coded data burst for Admiral Hackett. That burst contained the full, detailed schematics of the Batcave protocol, the Phoenix Drive, now that the immediate threat was over, and a clear, detailed strategy for the long-term containment and study of the inert Reaper ships. His presence would not be a tool for future military policy or political maneuvering. It would be a legacy of strategic thinking. The Krogan, the Turians, and the Alliance would debate the identity of the Ghost for centuries, but they would have the tools to rebuild. The galaxy was forever changed. Arya T'Loak now commanded a dreadnought equipped with a fully functional Phoenix Drive, securing Omega's independence and becoming a major political and highly volatile power broker in the coming galactic reconstruction. The Krogan, utilizing the non-EZO fabrication technology, were rapidly building a new fleet and infrastructure on Tuchanka, independent of the Genophage's political leverage. The focus of the new Citadel Council was now not on the Genophage or the Geth, who, incidentally, were completely unaffected by the Phoenix Pulse, proving they were truly independent of the Reaper's core EZO technology, but on integrating the non-EZO technological revolution. The ultimate fate of the two humans remained a strategic mystery. As Stark prepared to launch his final two-way FTL drive from the Earth system, a device that would take him and presumably Wayne back to their original universe, a flicker of light appeared on the tactical map. Harbinger, though inert, had sent one final highly compressed psychic signal before the Golden Pulse severed the connection. It was not a message of defeat, but of curiosity. The pattern is broken, but the variables must be studied. The Reapers were not destroyed, merely disabled, and they had just learned an invaluable lesson. The cycle must adapt to account for the unpredictable nature of non-EZO genius. The final complex threat would not be simple strength, but the dark energy that propelled the entire multiverse. Stark and Wayne would soon discover that their journey was not over, for the multiverse had a way of bringing all its problems to the same doorstep.